So you're thinking about living in the Boise, Idaho area, and Nampa is on your list of potential fits. Well, in today's video, I had the pleasure of sitting down with the mayor of Nampa to talk about what it's like living in Nampa and what sets Nampa apart from the rest of the Treasure Valley. Just starting off really easy, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that you're not a Nampa native.
I'm not, yeah. So I like to say that if you marry someone from Idaho, you're gonna live in Idaho.
I like that.
I've seen that so many times. So I grew up in Kansas, just outside of Kansas City, Olathe, Kansas, a community not unlike Nampa. And so that transition is wonderful, and my family's still in Kansas. My husband was born in Nampa, his dad was born in Nampa, and his grandmother was born in Nampa in the late 1890s. And so there is a long history here with the community from the very inception of Nampa with my husband's family. And so we've been here for 34 years now, and where we've raised our kids, it's been a wonderful, wonderful place to live.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about Nampa?
I think it's the people. You know, Nampa is, I like to say that Nampa is the best of what America was.
I like that.
We have a community of people, neighbor that still helps neighbor. We're not a perfect community, but we are such a good community. And what makes community are the people.
Right.
So, yeah, I love that about our community. And we have a foundation of faith that we have not stepped away from in this community.
Right, absolutely. What are you most excited about in Nampa's near future or right now for Nampa?
You know, one thing that I'm excited about is that our downtown has needed revitalization, and we've been working on it for years. But we've actually had the opportunity with some change in ownership and to where we have some redevelopment happening, and it's been a long time coming. We have a core structure within our community of some beautiful historic buildings, but we need the businesses in. We need the right retail happening. And we're getting there finally. And it's been a slow journey. And mainly because of building ownership that didn't change. And you cannot make someone sell their building. So with that, we've had to wait until some buildings came available, but that's happening and that's really good.
Is there anything in the works? I know we talked with Amy a little bit about it. We need like a steakhouse or a barbecue place.
Oh, I know, we do. I agree. We've had those discussions for years. We need the company, the restaurant, whoever it is that would come in and actually occupy and do that. We desperately do. We don't have anybody on the radar today. I wish we did, but yeah.
What, in your opinion, sets Nampa apart from the rest of the Boise area?
You know, Nampa used to be the second largest city in Idaho, and there was actually a distinction, right? And now we're all kind of growing together. But there is still a sense of its own community. We have Northwest Nazarene University sitting right here. We have College of Western Idaho, incredible asset, especially today, because of the employment opportunities and education and the direction it's going, having a focus to education. Maybe it's a certification, maybe it's an associate's degree. I just feel like with the educational piece that we have in our community, it's awesome. But then what sets us apart is that we still have a sense of community. And like our chamber is extremely active, and out of the Treasure Valley, I think it's one of the best. I mean, we have some other great chambers, but there's great participation. Our service clubs, we're in a generation where numbers are falling and people wanting to volunteer, but we still have our active service clubs. And we work together, and that's probably, to me, that's a differentiator. And we're growing in our business sector here, and that's part of what attracts people here because they like what we have in our community. So we're united, we work together, we have great relationships with one another, and that's an amazing thing that we have here.
Since I grew up in this area, it seems to me like going around checking out all the areas, Nampa has one of the most tight-knit community feels, even though it's one of the larger cities in the area. Why do you think that is for that? And then what's being done with all the growth that's projected in Nampa to make sure that we don't lose that small town?
It takes effort. It's not easy because we could lose that. And the more people that we have that are coming in that haven't grown up here, that don't live here, we're gonna have to be very proactive and work at it. And it really comes from little communities within the community. Our churches play a really important role here because people are getting together, building relationship there. And then one thing I love is that our churches, all these different churches are all also working together. The same way with our, like I mentioned, our community service clubs, right? And the nonprofits, we're all collaborating together. If someone comes in from out of state, my hope is that they will get engaged in our local community and that they'll get to know all the people and to where they then can foster that same sense of community. It's all in attitude and approach, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. In your opinion, what are some misconceptions that you think people have about Nampa?
I think the biggest one is crime. Because Nampa used to have a high crime issue. We had a lot of drive-by shootings and we had a reputation of crime. Our crime, we started a new a style of policing called CompStat, and we have the best police department in the state, and we have one of the best in the nation. And they're respected and people appreciate them too. And I love that about our community. I mean, as some would say, you back the blue, and you know what, we do. We do, but we have great people worthy of being backed, right? The integrity, the excellence, the teamwork, that is a real focus. And for the city, it is, and I'll get back to where I was going with that, but the city, our core values are very, very important. And that is integrity, stewardship, and teamwork within the city. Transparency is important. I talk to our staff all the time about truth. Integrity and truth, let's say truth is 100%, it's not 99, right? Our nation today is somewhat lost what truth really is. And so those are things that we talk about and we want to continue to work through. But crime was higher in Nampa, but with the implementation of CompStat and the core values that are walked out in our police department, our crime rate has dropped, I think 28%. In Class A crimes, where we used to be one of the highest, we are not. And across the state in just our Class A crimes, we're really either below the rest of the state now or right even, and we're considerably below the national averages. So we have come a long ways, and our tagline is to be a safe and healthy community where people prosper. And that drives me every day when you think about what are we going to do? Where is our focus, right? That's where our focus is.
It was interesting when we did the Citizens Academy to go through the police department and actually learn how much of the funding goes from our tax dollars to the police department and see how much work was put towards the police department. It was like, I feel pretty safe now. I mean, they have the top of the line equipment. We got to see that new SWAT truck, the Bearcat.
Oh, yeah.
It was really, really neat stuff to see. Especially with the traffic system that, you know, they could tell, say if there's an accident. Somebody up in the office could tell the responding officer, you know, who is at fault in the accident if it's in an intersection, which was really neat to see.
It is the technology that we have available to us through our real-time crime center and our integrated command center and with our transportation management center all there together with the cameras. It is allowing us to manage our traffic better, to really understand insurance should go down for people because we actually can tell, right? With the people running red lights and accidents. And did you guys get to see some good videos when you were there? I bet you did.
Yeah, we saw a couple,
Yeah. So,
we did.
Yeah, you just smile, right? It's great. You know what? We have great people doing great things. And I will say, Nampa has the largest public works division in the state of Idaho. You know that because of the Citizens Academy. And I'm so glad you went through that.
Absolutely. I would do it again. Actually, when it was done, it was like, this is all? This is over already? Nampa's been named the #1 best run city for 9 years now?
8 years, yeah. The way I look at it, there's good news, bad news with that. Right? Anytime you've been 8 years running, when we step off of that #1 spot, people are going to say, what did you do wrong, right? The other thing is it's weighted from a financial side, and it's really debt and spending per capita. So we are being very, very careful. Stewardship, like I said, is really important to us. However, you still have to invest in your city or you're not going to have good infrastructure. So there's an interesting balance in all of it. So you have to be careful because we could say, oh yes, we're the best run city, but 10 years from now we're not because things are crumbling and we're not investing. So it's kind of tricky, right? Because I love that, but I also am really cautious too, because like we have a wastewater loan. I'm not sure if that wastewater loan is actually gonna take us out of being the #1 because of the fiscal side. And I will say that we don't control all of that outcome, because part of that is graduation rates at the schools.
Okay.
I don't get to control the schools.
Right.
So we don't get to control 100% of it.
With all of the growth that's kind of going into North Nampa, we're going away from the school district. I graduated from Columbia High School. I went through all the schools here, but it seems like all the, the South Nampa and the original schools are losing attendance, where North Nampa and Valley View School District is gaining more and more attendance. Right. The only reasoning I could see for that is maybe younger families are moving to North Nampa area.
You know what, it really, in my opinion, Highway 16.
Okay.
So ITD had this idea to run that Highway 16 through, and it's cutting through an area that never had a highway through it. Mm-hmm. Well, when that happens, the growth is going to come to that highway. Yeah. And so because it's taking off of I-84 and going north past Eagle all the way to Emmett, and some of that road is done in the Eagle side, this section that they're completing and opening that up, that opens up development.
Yes.
And so with it, that's why that area is developing. And I grew up in the country. I'm a huge supporter. I was in 4-H, and that was my life. And I'm a huge supporter of ag land preservation. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of bothered me to see that growth there. However, most of the farmers sold back in 2004, 20 years ago to 10 years ago. Yeah. And most of the farmers don't own any of that ground. It's all owned by developers. Yeah. They sold a long time ago, and it's just a matter of when it was going to develop. And so now it will appear like it's happening really fast when the ground was sold a long time ago.
That's what I've been saying that a lot. Sometimes I get into arguments on Facebook and online with people, and they're like, people or developers coming in and taking all the farmland from the farmers. I'm like, hey, farmer sold it. And it didn't just happen recently. It's been owned by developers for a long time. Yeah. I came up with some more questions on the back. We talked about the Citizens Academy a little bit. Getting a little bit into politics. I mean, it's a huge thing in differences between Nampa and Boise, especially over like the last election. Canyon County had almost an 80% conservative vote to a 20% Democrat vote or something like that. But it was almost like completely flipped in Boise County. Does that impact the way that things are run here in the city? Because just for someone, for myself included, how does that, the difference in political makeup change how the city is run, or maybe the atmosphere?
Well, I think it can change the atmosphere. Hopefully, so we are nonpartisan when you run, you don't run as a partisan in a partisan seat. You would hope all cities run with the intent to be good stewards fiscally. When it comes to streets, water lines, wastewater lines, main water lines, irrigation, all of that stuff, that really shouldn't be partisan. There is an element of partisanship, though, in some of the decisions you make, and really, I'm going to say just of a conservative nature. Right. Nampa has been a very conservative community, as I said, with a strong faith base to the community. Right. And we have a lot of people moving here for that because they want that. Yeah. The citizens do elect the officials. And so we have a city council that I really appreciate because we're very much aligned. There isn't a discrepancy between everybody goes, whatever their faith is or whatever it doesn't matter, but we are all very much aligned. Right. And so that really helps in the governance of the city and the decisions that we make. Like behind us, I don't know if our cameras catch it, that In God We Trust over the city of Nampa seal, we all agree to that. And we all agree to the importance of the foundation of this nation, right? When you think about where we came from and how we got to where we are, it's very important that we don't forget it, and we all appreciate that and value that. And I think our community does too. And I think they want that. And so I just hope we will continue to be there.
I like that. That was a really, really good answer. Is there any advice that maybe from personal experience, even somebody who's considering living in Nampa, is there anything that you just want to leave off on? Any advice relocating to the area? Or
Well, we are a growing community, but we still have a sense of community. One of the challenges that we face is we have people that are moving to this community that want to close the door behind them and they don't want anybody else to come in. Yeah. Well, we can't stop growth. Yeah. It would be really bad economically. And so we're trying to grow really wisely in Nampa. We're looking at our future developments, and we've outlined through some area-specific plans some great developments. And so we're looking to create wonderful places for people to live. Yeah. We have, one thing I love again about our community is that we have 2 school districts. We've got the Nampa School District, we've got the Valley View, but we also have a number of charter schools, and there's a diversity of school options for people. We have a big homeschool community here.
Yes.
Yep, which is great. And so I think when you want to look for having options in education, we've got it here. But we are a community of growth. Whether we want to be or not, it's here, but we're trying to grow wisely. But if they want to come to a place where people still care about people, then Nampa's a good place to be.
I like that. I really do. Interesting, the section, I gathered comments from the internet that people had about Nampa. So I'm just going to read them to you, and then I want your response to it.
Okay, here we go.
The first one, it smells like rotten eggs in Nampa. It's the sugar beet farm and factory and the cheese factory dairy operation, PU.
So you know what, I'm trying to think of Sereno Lactalis, maybe at times if they're doing their, offloading certain things, but it's pretty cool because the Chobani little mozzarella balls that sells at Costco, they're made here. Yeah. And so it's awesome. The sugar beet factory, it has been here over 75 years. It is core to Nampa, and every once in a while the smells differ depending on the level of production, but the general smell, I don't mind it. There is a time though, sometimes when they're offloading certain constituents is what I want to say, whether it be either one, that the smell can be short-term really bad, but it isn't an ongoing thing. The sugar beet factory is more ongoing, but to me it's not a bad smell at all. Some people used to say it's the smell of money, right? with the sugar beets. I love the agricultural component of our community, and we don't want to lose it. Yeah. So if you live here, like for me, I drive by it, I love seeing that building. Yeah. I just think it's awesome.
I like it. I don't mind the smell at all. It smells like peanuts to me, or like peanut butter. I was driving by one time and I was like, somebody eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my car? But it was that. But they did put a new system in, so it cuts down on the smell.
Yes.
Next question, or comment. I moved to Nampa 6.5 years ago and would not do it again. It's the low-class area near Boise with rising crime, strip malls, and dumpy neighborhoods.
That is so interesting. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
It's sad. You know what I love about our community? We are not the wealthiest community, but we are a good community. And being a middle-class American that cares about their family and gets up and goes to work every day, I don't see a thing wrong with that. And I love it, and I feel like we can be proud of that. If it's all about having a lot of money and having the biggest house, I don't mind. You're welcome to live someplace else. It's just fine with me, because you know what? We need people that really care about one another and that want to lean in to what we have in this community. And it isn't about driving the fanciest car and having the biggest house. No, it's about what life is really about, and that's what you're going to get here.
Next comment. Well, actually, I shortened this up because it would have had quite a list. Multiple people were complaining about gang violence in Nampa being not safe. I know we covered that a little bit before, how there's not so much truth into that. What's your take on that in today's?
In today's, right, there was, a number of years ago, we were there. Today, we are not. You don't see any more violent crime here than you would in Boise or any place else, right? We did have that crime problem. I'm not saying we didn't, but if you look at our stats today, they have changed considerably. And so we have done such an incredible job, and we have some of the most advanced policing models. And you know what? If we have criminals, our police know that I'm like, take care of them. Basically, the message is, if you're gonna have a gang and if you're gonna do crime, don't do it in Nampa, because you're gonna get caught. So you might as well not be here. It's gonna push it to the other communities, but we're just not gonna tolerate it. Right. We're gonna take care of them, and we have a great team.
Growing up here and living in the area, it seems like kind of the small town thing, you know, there's not much going on. So if something small or maybe somewhat potentially notable happens, it kind of gets blown out of proportion. And another interesting thing that I just saw a couple days ago, it was from a bar downtown Nampa at the Getaway, somebody snagged somebody's wallet. And so the Nampa Police Department posted it, and You know, people in the community of Nampa were really on it, you know, and they helped find that guy within a couple hours. So it was really neat to see, and it just plays into the community really helping out and working with law.
I love that. That's who we are. We're going to look out for one another and we're going to help.
Right.
Yeah.
Last comment. Nampa has grown way too fast. Farmers sold their land to developers who are building cheap houses close together. Seems as if no one thought about how they were going to accommodate all the extra people. They just built with reckless abandon. Traffic is awful, healthcare is lacking, and most restaurants are Mexican. But then if that's what you're used to, that's great.
You know what? Something I learned a long time ago was that we've got a very vocal minority. And sometimes there are a few that speak the loudest, right, but they're not representative of everyone. And there are people today that like to put really negative stuff on social media that they maybe wouldn't otherwise say. Right. And I find it unfortunate. When we want to connect with our community, it's like, well, I tell you what, if you look for the bad in people, you will surely find it, right? So how about if we look for the good in community? So yes, we have grown, but in fact, we're just getting ready to start on another comprehensive plan. Okay. And so we're going to be looking at what do these subdivisions need to look like? What is the density? We don't get to control who buys ground. In fact, that's something that I think in the independent spirit of where we are in the West here, people don't want the government saying, you're not allowed to sell your ground. You have to buy or you cannot buy that. It was a natural buyer and seller that we can't control, and we don't control. So if a developer comes in and a farmer wants to sell, we don't even know that transaction's taking place. The comprehensive plan is really, really important because it does set a roadmap for where we want to go. And we've just completed 3 area-specific plans, one for that North Nampa growth area, and one right off of Highway 16. The Southwest area-specific plan is still in process, but then we're starting on a new comprehensive plan. So the citizens have an opportunity to weigh in on the density. But as someone that's a proponent for ag land preservation, and you see this in other nations, and they may be more even third world, where you've got density and then you've got agriculture. Yeah. Because if you just sprawl, we have people coming in and wanting us to have acre lots. Yeah. You know, we just want a whole bunch of acre lots. Well, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna suck the water out of the ground, and so it's a higher utilization of our surface water and our groundwater. And then it's going to use up more ag ground because you can't farm that area, but you don't have the density of houses. So you've got to have planned subdivisions. If you're going to protect your ag ground, get areas that are dense and then let the ag ground be there. And we need that because we feed the world out of Canyon County. The #1 seed producer in the state of Idaho, but literally our seed goes to every continent in the world except for Antarctica. It's very important, right?
It's very hard to grow stuff there.
Yeah. It's very important that we continue to produce seed. I grew up in Kansas, as we talked about. That's dry land farming. Yeah. And you've heard it said, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore, right? Yeah. Well, when it comes to agriculture here, with our hot days, our cool nights, our consistent flow of water, we produce seed here that isn't produced in other places. It's very, very important, and we need to continue it, but it's going away. So if we aren't pushing density into the communities and preserving our ag ground, it's just going to go away. So I guess the question is, who do we want to be?
Exactly. I can see that. Do you have any questions that you want to add in?
So what is your take on, with the housing prices going up, it's harder and harder for people to afford housing. So what can we do, and what can we do? What can you do? How can the city help people, and what is the plan? Is there a plan?
Well, so for the city of Nampa, we don't build housing, right? It's up to the development community. But one of the things we did recently is we did a housing study. And in that housing study, they showed that we needed 14,000 units by 2040. So that's just 15 years. Well, currently we have, this last year, the average for the last 7 years has been about 1,100 single family homes over the last 7 years. Well, if it's just over 1,000 homes every year, and that's not counting multifamily, which we're also doing multifamily. So with that, in 15 years, we're going to hit that 14,000 units. In talking to the development community, what they're really saying is that if you don't have enough housing, the prices are going to go up, right? Because there's a shortage. But if you don't have a shortage of housing units, it's going to help your prices be more reasonable. And so, and that's the other thing. If we just do where some want us just to do a bunch of acre lots and big houses, those are going to be $1 million to $2 million homes. Nobody can afford those. What we need are some smaller homes with great open green space, and that's a new requirement we have, that you have to have 15% open green space. So if you have maybe a smaller home, it's more affordable to that family wanting to come in. And it's unfortunate to see where housing prices have gone, because they've gone very, very high. And it's very difficult for this next generation to be able to afford, or even, anyone, right, to be able to afford housing. So I think the key is that we plan for diverse housing sizes, that you have some smaller homes, you do have larger homes, and as much as we do need multifamily, right? You need more multifamily homes that are maybe affordable, that people can get into. So having the variety of housing, and then we do have some quote workforce housing units that are being built in Nampa. And I tell you what's really sad and challenging is our seniors. We have seniors that are facing homelessness that have never faced homelessness. Right. And that's really, really concerning. But we do have in Nampa quite a few over 55 communities that are reasonably priced, which is extremely helpful. So we need to continue to look at it, but we need to be looking at housing that is affordable housing that people can buy, not just say, okay, we want acre lots with $2 million homes, that most of the people coming in can afford them, but the people living here cannot afford them. Right. We need to focus on those people that live here.
Yeah. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you made it this far, I must have done a good job. So do yourself a huge favor, subscribe to the channel so you get notified on all future videos. Until next time, I'm Isaac Crace with Top Idaho Real Estate.